Well, joining me now from the Saudi capital, writer and political commentator Salman Al-Ansari. Thanks so much for being with us. As we said, neither side in this dispute clearly wants to lose face. So what happens now? This is surely destabilizing for the immediate region.
Great. Thank you so much. I think there is a huge consensus among the Arab and Muslim world to basically confront all terrorist advocates and terrorist sponsors and terrorist sympathizers. Because if you look at the context of the Riyadh summit, when more than 50 Muslim leaders met with the President of the United States, they've made it very clear that there would be zero tolerance with any terrorist sympathizer or advocate or sponsor. So I think Qatar needs to get back to its mind. Qatar needs to basically get back to the GCC Council by abiding by the, not only by the regional laws, but by the international laws. We all know that Qatar has been funding Jabhat al-Nusra, JFS, Jaysh al-Sham, which is Al-Qaeda affiliated group in Syria, and they are not shy of saying so as well. And they are actually also supporting Fajr Libya militia in Libya, and they're supporting the Muslim Brotherhood around the Arab and Muslim world. This is very destabilizing and very dangerous.
Salman, a lot of people have pointed out, of course, in the past that Saudi Arabia itself has stood accused of exporting, or at least allowing the export and funding of extremist ideology. Just this week, the Henry Jackson Society in the UK issuing a report saying Saudi Arabia is the chief foreign promoter of Islamist extremism in the UK. How is that allegation being received, particularly in the context of the allegations Saudi Arabia makes against Qatar?
Thank you for asking this question. I've read the same report that you've mentioned 2 times. And actually, I can tell you this, very genuinely, this report is completely baseless and has nothing to do with the truth. And I'll tell you why. Because the names that he mentioned in the report and wanted to link them to the Saudi government were actually more of sympathizers of the Muslim Brotherhood that we are trying to confront and to combat. So I think the report was not respectful enough to be picked up by the mainstream.
Yeah, the report, I think, is pointing out the origins more geographically by country than accusing the government directly. It was saying that the funding for extremism is coming from a number of Gulf states and Iran as well. But it points out Saudi Arabia as spending millions exporting Wahhabi Islam going back to the 1960s.
Yeah, let me tell you something. This is good that you brought this, because it's very important that the people can understand what's going on when it comes to the idea of madrasas and religious schools and Wahhabism, as people call it. Let's look at the fact. Where does ISIS operate officially? They operate in Libya, Syria, and Iraq. And guess what? None of those countries in the past and in the present time have ever allowed Saudi Arabia to build any mosque or any madrasa. So that in itself proves the point that Saudi has nothing to do with this. But let me be frank with you. We all know that terrorism is a global phenomenon. We cannot combat it independently. We should all get together and combat it. And what I'm so happy about is basically what the outcomes of the Riyadh summit, because it made it very clear. We are not going to have a gray area anymore. It's going to be either black or white. If there is any terrorist group or any sponsor of terrorism or any state sponsoring terrorism, such as Qatar or Iran, will be put accountable. When it comes to Saudi Arabia has funded the United Nations fund of combating terrorism with $110 million, and it's the biggest contribution from any government in the world. So, and at the same time, Saudi Arabia created the biggest military coalition, the biggest Islamic military coalition in history, just to combat terrorism with more than 41 countries. So we are speaking of very serious approach to the Saudi kingdom, and the Crown Prince Mohammed Bin Salman has been actually putting a lot of emphasis on the importance of combating the ideology of extremism. That's why he opened the Ideological Warfare Center and I'tidal when the President Trump came to
Still a long way to go, obviously, on that issue for a number of countries in the region. I wish we could go on more. It's not a great line, so we'll leave it there. Salman Al-Ansari, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.